Greetings, one and all. Welcome back to another episode of the Icing on the Skate podcast. Who's got me playing in the background? Oi!
Muted.
So, hello again, everyone. Welcome to the stream. It's episode 7. Woo! Almost been doing this for 2 months. That's pretty crazy. So, joining me for this week's episode, of course, we have the guy that's worse than a bad smell, Mr. Chris Gadsby.
And the guest.
I have to come up
Sorry,
with
Max, you're only a guest.
Week, you know? And, of course, we have our special guest today. We have our special guest today. Of course, he's been on the podcast before. Some of you may recognise him, Mr. Max Artis. Hello, Max. How are you today, sir?
Very well.
Caught you while you were drinking a drink. So, yeah, lots of great topics to talk about, like every week. There's a bit of a slower week this week compared to some of the other ones, to be honest, which has kind of been quite nice from the Elite League perspective, especially with one team, who we seem to mention every single week of our lives. So, Chris, do you want to take us through the scores? Do what you're here for. Go on, get it done, sir.
Thanks. Okay, we shall start with last Wednesday, where the Sheffield Steelers lost to the Five Flyers by 3-1. On to Friday, Milton Keynes 1, Belfast 4, and Glasgow 6, Nottingham 3. On Saturday, these are all Elite League, by the way. Yeah. On Saturday, Glasgow 3, Coventry 5, Milton Keynes 1, Belfast 5, Manchester 4, Dundee 3, Cardiff 7, Sheffield 1, and 5-7, Nottingham 5. And on Sunday, Sheffield 4, Manchester 3, Cardiff 7, 5-2, Dundee 1, Nottingham 2, and Guildford 3, Belfast 2. In the Challenge Cup, only a few games starting only a couple of games actually, starting on Tuesday, Glasgow 5, Dundee 4, and then on Sunday, Coventry 1, Milton Keynes 2. What that's done for the standings, starting in the Elite League, is the Nottingham Panthers are still at the top of the table. They have 18 points. Well, quite. They have 18 points from their 15 matches played. The Five Flyers only 1 point behind them, and they've got 5 games in hand. They've only played 10. Belfast in third, 12 games played, 16 points. Cardiff in fourth, 9 games played, 16 points. Coventry in 5th, 9 games played, 11 points. Guildford in 6th, 10 played, 10 points. Glasgow in 7th, the same 10 games played, 10 points. Manchester in the final playoff spot at the moment, 12 games played and 10 points. Dundee in 9th, 12 played, 9 points. Sheffield in 10th, 13 played, 8 points. And Milton Keynes at the bottom, 10 games played, 6 points. So the Cardiff Devils with the best record and theoretically top of the table with 6 games in hand, although they only sit in 4th. I'll do the Challenge Cup when we talk about it because that's more complicated.
Sure. So, yeah, thanks for that, Chris. So, a very interesting league table still. Like, as we've said, as the weeks have gone on, we've started to see a bit of a divide with the teams. Like, now we're seeing a huge gap with the top and the bottom at the moment. I mean, Nottingham, yeah, they're in first, but like we said, they're not going to be there for much longer. They've played the most league games out of any team here so far. 18 points. They've got a record of 9 wins, 6 losses, which isn't good enough for this early on in the season if you're looking for a title. Cardiff have lost 1 game. Fife have lost 1 game in regulation and 1 game in overtime. Those 2 teams are going to be sitting at the top of the table for quite a while, I could imagine, especially when they're trying to catch up in games. So, yeah, some interesting matchups, though, this weekend. I think we'll throw this over to Max first. Hi, Max. So,
hey.
Anything that jumped out at you this last week? Any specific games that you either watched or you were following and you thought, oh, or yay?
Well, didn't watch any of the streams. I've gone back and watched the highlights. I've made some notes, and it's just poor hockey, really. It's a bad slump. It's going to happen. It happens to every team. Maybe not Cardiff. But
Fair point.
exactly, it's just, you're going to go through dry spells. Unfortunately, Panthers is kind of hitting a worse. It's going to get worse before it gets better. We've brought some guys in. Whether that changes anything, I don't know. Because Van Cleef hasn't really done much. Baldock, though scoring his first goal for an overtime winner, I don't really know if he's going to come in. If he's going to come in and make much of an impact, he didn't really do anything in Scotland, but then neither did the team. So my notes from watching back the highlights, and I haven't watched the Fife game because they're not up yet. My thoughts were puck watching for at least 2 to 3 of the goals. Like literally just stood still, and the puck got passed around them. They were stood still, not protecting the slot a lot on the Glasgow Clan. I almost got it wrong. They weren't protecting the middle of the ice at all. And they were screening their own goalie. Whether that was the case for Sam Gospel, I didn't see. But yeah, did not really give much help for Garnett in front. There was some desperation play, and a lot of our goals were just scrappy pucks towards the net, scrambles in front, and a lucky bounce here, there, and everywhere, really.
Yeah.
So that was really my thoughts. It did not read well on Twitter. I stayed at my girlfriend's for the weekend, and I think halfway through the Glasgow game, I stopped putting on the notifications and then just left it until about about o'clock and left that. On the Fife game, I gave up in the second. I gave up at the end of the first period. I was like, this is going to go south again. And then Dundee, there wasn't really much. Yeah, and then for the Dundee game, I got more penalty notifications and goal notifications. So I got
that's the Panthers.
That. Yeah, I know. I watched one of them back as well. I watched Baldock's tripping penalty back, and it's the most basic and stupid thing. The line, if you haven't watched it, go and watch Dundee Stars highlights. It's just under a minute in, roughly, and they're lining up for a face-off in the neutral zone outside the Panthers zone, and number 10, I can't remember his name for the Dundee Stars, and Baldock are lining up next to each other, and they're kind of drifting in towards the face-off. And Baldock kind of pulls him back to on his leg and kind of trips him a little bit before the puck's even dropped to say, don't go too close to the face-off, which you're not allowed to. So then number 10 does it back to him. But then as the puck is dropped, Baldock does it again, cleanly takes him off his feet without even trying. I mean, the linesman's dropping the puck. The two referees are watching it. It's an easy call. It's an easy call. And he got goaded straight into it. His only redeeming factor in that game is the fact that he scored the overtime winner. Yeah. But that's 1 plus to 1 minus.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, kind of balances them out, but I mean, the goal is quite important. But then again, don't take a stupid penalty. Remind me, Chris. Baldock being on the team happened this week, right? Like he wasn't signed before last podcast, right?
He was signed. He got here on Tuesday, I believe.
So I think
wasn't it announced like a couple of hours? Wasn't it announced in the day last Monday? I seem to remember.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah.
Like, did we mention it? Because
I think we did.
Because like Max mentioned quite early on in what he was saying, we're not really sure like what a guy like Alex Baldock will do. Yeah, we did mention it. We
definitely did, because I remember telling you how to pronounce it because someone on Twitter said.
And then I realised he was one of Kevin Henderson's friends. Is it Kevin Henderson? I think something like that. He's one of the players. He's one of the. He's like a childhood friend with one of the players on the roster, from what I've heard. Like Max was saying, their problem isn't their offense at the moment. Like, that's been made abundantly clear through the first 2 months of the season. They can score goals. They just have a problem with keeping them out of their own net. I mean, talk about giving Gospel a baptism of fire against one of the top teams in the league. Like, go Garnett play against Glasgow and Dundee, and then you put Gospel in for the Fife game, a team that had lost 2 games this entire season.
In Fife.
In Fife. That's poor management, I've got to say.
I've got a point on that, though. With the way that Garnett played in Glasgow, he probably did not deserve to play in Fife.
True.
And it was probably a statement from Rich Chimenez to say, look, you've gone out there and performed like this with the number one goalie in the back. You get your number two, because there was no way Garnett was going to play all 3 games anyway.
Well, he made quite a different statement in Fife, didn't he? But
yeah. So he made a statement otherwise, but we'll get on. We'll get onto that. I think it was just a statement from the coach just saying, look, step your game up, boys, because this is not acceptable. And the fact that they were trading goals by the third period just shows that both teams weren't exactly too bothered about defence.
No. I think that's been quite clear with this Nottingham team early on this season. They started off really well, but the problem is their defence, they're either not playing very well or they're spending long stretches of a period in the penalty box because they take so many stupid penalties. Like, sort out the defence, sort out the goaltending to an extent. Like, in my opinion, Garnett needs a bit of a kick up the arse, like you said. Like, come on. There have been games where Garnett has stole games for the Panthers. Now he's starting to play like normal Garnett, which we saw like after Christmas last year, which he wasn't really...
Well, after the EIHL.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like post-CHL Garnett wasn't that good. He's starting to kind of get back to that level. The defense needs to step it up even more. That's the problem. But, yeah, it's just disappointing to see how the Nottingham Panthers are doing. After a relatively strong start, like, pre-season they were fantastic. They started off the season relatively well, and now they can't seem to string together 2 straight wins. They're more likely to get losses than they are wins at the moment, which it kind of shows that we'll get onto that in more detail later on.
We will, yeah.
With a couple of other teams as well. But, yeah, so that's very interesting. Some of the... Chris, any games that jumped out to you so far this season? Or this last week?
Well, I mean, again, the appalling trip by Nottingham up to Scotland. They're top of the league, yes. Their goal difference is -1.
Oh.
And you're top of the league.
No, yeah, that's not going to last for much longer.
Now, I've just been doing some quick maths as well. Yeah, I mean, you said they had no problem scoring goals.
Yeah.
They're averaging 3.2 a game.
Exactly.
The problem with averaging 3.2 a game is that's only good enough for 7th.
Really? Oh, okay.
What
I would say about the Panthers is they're capable of going 3-0 up in quite a lot of games, and then sort of like the problem is they'll score the first one, and then the other team will tie it up. Then the other team will get a second one, then they'll get a third one, then they'll get a fourth one, then they'll get a fifth one, and that's why they're not scoring enough goals, because by the time they're 3-4-1 down, they're so demoralised that they can't be asked to play for it.
Well, Fife are averaging 4.6 a game. Belfast are averaging about 3.9 a game. Cardiff are averaging just over 5 a game.
Wow.
Even Coventry are averaging 3.3 a game, which is better than Panthers. Guildford are also on 3.3 a game. It's only when you get down to Glasgow in 7th, who are on 2.9, that you get to lower than Panthers.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Of course, that is to do with the scenarios. Like, that. I mean, for example, they put up 5 against Fife. They gave up 7, which is what we said is the issue. Like, I think the Panthers, I would say, are a team that's very capable of scoring lots of goals. But like we said, the problem is they don't keep them out of their own net.
Yeah.
And of course, having 2 quick goals against you in the matter of like a couple of minutes is really going to demoralise a group of guys playing. It's really they're gonna be focusing on. I could imagine there's a bit more of focusing on making sure another one doesn't go in than trying to score another one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be quite interested to know the stat of the amount of times Panthers go down, don't score the first goal, and lose the game.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well, I mean, I could do it for you, but it'd take me a few minutes.
I was going to say it's going to take you a while, so I think that's probably a stat.
It's not going to take me that long because we're not that far through.
So, like...
So what you want? When we concede the first goal and then go on to lose?
Yeah, because I think that's going to be the main culprit of our losses is going to be we concede the first goal, our heads drop and we can't get back into it or can't keep up with the other team.
Do you know what? The stat that I find more interesting is when we score the first goal, what our record is.
I was getting onto that. Yeah.
Because the last few games that they've played, especially, they've scored the first goal in the game, then they give up 5 straight in the second. You know, so there's a teams are more likely to lose if they give up the first goal. Like that's always been a statistical thing. They're not guaranteed to lose, but they're more likely to lose if they give up the first goal. If you score the first goal, you're supposed to be more likely to win the game. However, I don't think the Panthers follow that kind of trend at the moment. It's a very interesting one.
I think this team's kind of built to be winning from the outset, as in like if they fall behind, they're going to stay behind. If they're ahead,
you say that,
they're going to keep their heads. Go on.
You say that they've lost 8 this season, and only in 4 of those they've fallen behind.
Yep.
In the other 4, they've gone ahead and then lost it. So they're 50-50.
Yep.
Okay.
Should we go Challenge Cup quickly, because obviously there's been the rejig there. So in the Challenge Cup, obviously we've spoken about the rearrangement. Group B has finished completely.
Hey!
5 have been eliminated, and the group has been reshuffled.
Okay.
So the new group looks like this. So the Belfast Giants are top. 4 games, 8 points. They won the lot.
Understandable.
Dundee second, 4 games. Well, they've all played 4 games. They've got 3 points.
Oh wow! Okay.
And the Glasgow Clan have 2 points.
So
their sole win. So what that means is, even before that game between the Storm and the Panthers, all 3 teams in Group A are going through.
Which I think further creates the problem that it's a broken system. Like this whole group stage stuff, they've absolutely favoured the 3 teams in Group A without a doubt. The fact that all 3 of them can go through at this point is absolutely ridiculous. Why have groups if all of them can go through?
It should have been made into 2 groups.
Yeah,
and only been lopsided by 1 team. And say, unfortunately for this year, we're down a team. It's happened. We're going to have to deal with it for this year.
exactly.
And teams would have got, and the managers of the teams or the GMs of the team would have gone, okay, fine, let's work on getting another team into the league so we can balance everything back out.
Exactly. Yeah, like I don't understand why they've had to carry on with this 3 group system, because like we've seen, Sheffield, who haven't played very well this season, Nottingham, who started well, haven't played very well this season, and Manchester, who have been a bit 50-50 this season, are all going through to the next round of the Challenge Cup because they won 2 games.
Yeah, so there are 5 games left in the Challenge Cup. 4 games left in the Challenge Cup. This group stage, and 2 for each team in Group C, and the 1 game left in Group A.
So it's it's kind of an almost completely pointless game in Group A. Sure, it's like top of the group, get to pick your opponent, like you.
Yeah, if Manchester win, they go top of the group, they get to pick their opponent.
Yeah.
If Nottingham win, then they go joint with Sheffield, and it will come down to their head-to-head, I believe, which I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah. I know Nottingham won the one in the opening day. I think Sheffield won over there, though, didn't they?
I think. Because did they play 2 games against each other?
Yeah, but Nottingham won. Yeah, Sheffield beat Nottingham, but then in Sheffield, but Nottingham won in Nottingham.
Yeah, they both won at home. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, if Panthers win in overtime, then all teams in Group A have 5, and then I think you're down into like 0.8 of the tiebreaker, which I can't bother to go into right now.
Yeah. Let's not worry about that for the time being.
Yeah, so you've got so Group C, the bottom team will go, and then you've got to lose 1 more team, which will either be Glasgow or the 3rd place team in Group C.
Right.
Which we don't know until they reshuffle Group C right at the end.
I'm just going to make a plea to the Elite Ice Hockey League. If we have 11 teams in the league at the moment? If we have an 11-team league next season, please don't make it as stupid as this. Just like we said,
it's the best they can do, though. In part, unless you get it in.
No, it's not. No. What they could do is, if they really want to, either like Max said, have the 2 groups and go, this is a temporary measure, like just essentially cut the teams that are whatever record, or you just do it like a league system. Like it's a completely separate league and just go, okay, you can play the teams in your conference. They like using the conferences even though they're a load of rubbish anyway and they're pointless. give them a use. These are the teams that you're going to be playing, and then you just cut off the bottom however many teams that don't make it through. Because
I suppose that just adds even more games to it, though, doesn't it?
Or just get rid of the Challenge Cup.
Well, we spoke about that at length last week.
I mean, is it a bad idea?
What we will know.
I don't know.
By this time next week, by next week's podcast, Cardiff will have completed all their games.
Right.
And Guildford and Coventry will each have played 5. So
Right.
then we're going to have a much better idea of what they will look like. Cardiff are through, that's guaranteed.
Of course.
So we know. So we've got, 4 games left, and we already know that the finalists, the quarterfinalists are Sheffield, Manchester, Nottingham, Belfast, Dundee, and Cardiff. We want one more from Guildford, Milton Keynes, and Coventry.
So, just remind me, just the last thing about the Challenge Cup, because otherwise we'll end up talking about this for like a million years.
Yeah.
Or until next week's podcast. So with the pick your own opponent,
Yes.
is that the top team in each division?
Yeah, so what it is it's so the top seeds in each group. So
Okay.
Belfast are the top seed, Cardiff are the top seed, and we'll say it's Sheffield.
Yeah, currently Sheffield. Yeah.
Yeah. They are ranked 1, 2, and 3 dependent on the amount of points they've got.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
And then the best second place team is seeded 4, and then they get to pick their opponents.
Yes, okay. Right. Perfect. So Challenge Cup, still as confusing as ever. We're almost at the end of it, lads.
Once you understand, once you look at it and understand it and spend some time on it like I have, it makes sense in terms of.
To that.
No, I know it
That's
shouldn't.
the
No, I know it
problem.
shouldn't.
So, moving on in the Elite League news, just in case you guys were wondering, next week is Halloween. Ooh. So 31st
Is it actually?
of October.
Oh no, it's not on the. No, that's a shame.
So, next week on Halloween, every other week, Free Sports like to show an Elite League game, which I think is awesome,
Yeah.
and they're done to a fantastic quality. I love watching them, whether it's the Panthers playing or not. I don't care. I really enjoy watching them. There's just been a quick bit of an update. The game on the 31st of October on Halloween has been changed. The 2 opponents from the original 2 teams that they were going to match up. I think it was previously going to be apparently categorised in Cardiff Devils and Glasgow Clan, so it may have been those 2 teams. I don't know. I can't remember. But the teams have been changed to the Sheffield Steelers versus the Coventry Blaze, which is live at the Fly DSA Arena with a face-off at 7:30 p.m. Yeah, this replaces the original TV fixture of the Glasgow Clan versus the Cardiff Devils. So, Glasgow and Cardiff fans probably a bit upset that they're not going to see their team on Halloween. However, the Steelers, why they'd want to show the Steelers at this point in time, I don't know. Versus the Coventry Blaze, they're doing all right for themselves. I can see why they want to show.
I can understand it because of everything going around the Steelers. A lot of people will want to watch and see how they play. Good move.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Yeah, go along with the controversy.
And obviously Cardiff have had been on a lot with the CHL, so.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Yeah. Then again, it kind of like Glasgow. It's kind of like sucks to be you, you know. It kind of sucks, but you know. So yeah, that was just a quick bit of news there. We got a few suspensions to talk about now. One kind of crazy one and one slightly funnier one. The result of it. So let's start with Mr. Cole Shudra.
Yeah.
So the Milton.
Has the video come out? I've not seen it.
Yes, it is currently on the Elite League website. I haven't actually watched it, to be honest. I've got to be honest. I might watch it as we talk about it. So Cole Shudra, who is actually part of the Sheffield Steelers, he was loaned out to the Milton Keynes Lightning for this season, was suspended for 2 games. So I'll read the Elite League Department of Player Safety, what they put up on the Elite League website. So, Friday night in Milton Keynes, during the game between the Milton Keynes Lightning and the Belfast Giants, Lightning number 27 Cole Shudra was involved in an incident deemed as a check from behind, according to EIHL International Ice Hockey Federation Rule 123. The incident was reviewed by the EIHL Department of Player Safety and determined supplementary discipline is required under Category 1, careless or insufficient attention or thought to avoid harm or error. So Cole Shudra delivered a body check deemed illegal and considered a check from behind. Now, I saw the response from fans on Twitter, and a lot of them were like, 2 games isn't enough. And they kind of pointed to the fact that Cole Shudra is, of course, the son of Elite League popular man, or legend, if you want to use that term, Ron Shudra, who they have a feeling that he had something to say in this being only 2 games. Maybe him going, don't be so mean to him. Of course, that's complete rumour. I doubt there's anything to do with that. So the key points as part of this, he was suspended for 2 games. So Milton Keynes, they had both their games this week, and they had a game against Belfast on Saturday, so he missed that game. And then on Sunday, they played Coventry, so his suspension's been served now. It's just important to point out, though. And the key points were the actual hit itself was considered a check from behind. There was reckless endangering, and there was no regard for the puck. One of you, jump in. What do you think?
I'll go first. I've just watched it. I can see Chris.
Yeah, I'm watching it now.
Yeah, I'm about to watch it now. So go for it.
Yeah, you watch it and tell me if I'm wrong in any way.
Sure.
So puck gets dumped in. Cole Shudra turns. The defenseman turns around. He then follows him into the boards completely from behind, complete disregard, and then just pins him up against the boards. 2 games. It probably could have been more. This whole pinning it on his dad being an old hard man kind of thing is like saying, Max Domi deserves more games because his dad's Ty Domi.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely stupid. I'm sorry. The league are going to dish out what they deem as appropriate. We know it's kind of inconsistent.
Yes, which I think is the problem. Yeah, just watching this hit now, ouch. Yeah, I can see why.
The problem is that you can tell exactly what he was going to do by the time he reaches the face-off dot.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's why there's 2 games as opposed to a 1 game.
He's not even looking at the puck.
There's intent. There's absolute intent there.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no regard for the other person's safety. He knows exactly what he's doing. He can see nothing but numbers, and he has more than enough time. He has at least 5 seconds before he even goes anywhere near him that he can pull out or change the hit or take a different route.
Like Chris said, you could see from the face-off dot, like there's time for him to go, I shouldn't do this. This is a bad idea, which it was, obviously, hence why he's been suspended for 2 games. So go for it.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, or he could actually keep his feet moving and win the puck.
Yeah.
The guy in front of him is gliding, and he is gliding. Like, if he actually moves his feet, he gets himself into a better position.
Yeah, exactly. But also what he could have done was he could have pinned him to the boards. Like, he didn't need to go in with so much force. He could have, like how the puck comes around the boards, like pin him as a we're trying to battle for possession here, as opposed to I want to throw you and be physical against you, you know?
But he doesn't even, if he put his stick, if he stuck his stick out to make it look as though he was going for the puck, but you can tell he's not even going for the puck.
Oh no.
There's no attempt to play the puck, and he doesn't even put his body in a position where he could play the puck. He is completely behind that other player.
Yeah. They, like you said, all he saw was numbers. You've got to know as a player, like as a fan, you know this as well. If you see the back of the player's jersey, you've got to pull out. You've got to aim more towards the side of them. Because if you're going to go straight into the back of them, you're just asking for trouble. And that's resulted in a 2-game suspension here. So, he's already served the suspension. I'm not really surprised that he got a suspension. I mean, I can see a bit where some of the fans are coming from in the sense that maybe 2 games wasn't enough. But like Max said, obviously, the Department of Player Safety, they aren't just geezers off the street that don't know what they're doing. Like, last season we had a professional NHL referee come in and help out with the Department of Player Safety. These are players, or these are officials that have, some of them have been at the top of the hockey game for a sustained period of time. They know what they're doing. So I think to assume, he's the son of Ron Schroeder, he probably just had to call the Department of Player Safety and say, please don't be mean to my son, and then he'll get off fine. I think that's a little bit unfair. I think that's a little bit unfair to the Department of Player Safety. Sure, there might be something going on in the backgrounds. We can't prove anything. And I don't think it's that big of a deal. The fact is, this was recognised as a suspendable offence. He got 2 games. He served that suspension. Hopefully he'll learn from this, you know?
Yeah.
And if there was chirping leading up to. That's part of hockey. You're going to get chirped. You're going to get the old slash, and that's just down to how. I hate using this, but how clever you are as a hockey player.
Yeah.
If you can get away with stuff like that, and the refs don't see it, and you can wind the other players up. I mean, players have built their careers on that sort of thing.
Yeah, like
Sean Avery to name a Rangers player.
He was a nightmare. He was funny though.
He's the reason why we have goaltender interference.
Yeah,
and an actual rule is made from him. People like Farmer, people like David Lane, even Jordan Fox was just as bad winding people up.
Yeah.
Who's it on? Carl Tanaka. I hate Carl Tanaka, but if he was playing on my team, I would love him.
Yeah. He's one of those. He's one of those. Hate him unless he's on your team.
I'd buy his game wars. I'd probably buy his jock because I'd love him that much. I can understand why Coventry and other teams that he's played for absolutely love him. But because he was against us, I wanted someone to run him through the boards.
He's like a Matthew Barnaby.
He was a nightmare the other week.
He's like a Matthew to Chuck, Matthew Barnaby kind of guy. Yeah, he's one of those. Love him when he's on your team because he will stick up for your teammates and really get under the other team's skin. But when he's against you, you absolutely just despise.
When you've lost every game in the season, you don't want to face him.
Yeah. Exactly.
You see him line up next to you, you just like you don't want to be near him. You don't want to know about him. You don't want to. You just don't want to even know about him.
And like, lastly on this Cole Shudra suspension, like you mentioned, Max, players, if they can get away with stuff, they're going to try it, and that's that's the responsibility of the referees to come in and do their job and say, give a penalty to a player that's fully deserving of a penalty. And I can't remember, did I keep this up? No, I've gotten rid of the tab now, but it was very much a scenario that it wasn't as if the refs let this go, you know? Like, they could have easily have carried on play. They shouldn't have done, and they didn't, which is like, we always go on about how the refs can be very unpredictable and ridiculous in the Elite Ice Hockey League. Like, there's a very wide range of sort of quote-unquote ability of referees in the Elite Ice Hockey League, according to most fans. But I think this is an example of them making the right call. Like, you never talk about it when referees make the correct call, because it's just like, oh well, that's what they're supposed to do. You expect it. It's when they don't do something that's when you're like, oh, hang on a minute, something's wrong here. But no, I think good play. I mean, the goalie, the Belfast Giants goalie, came in to give Shudra a few words and a few pushes. So I'm not surprised, sticking up for your teammates. No. He made a legal play, and he got penalised for it with 2-game suspension, which has now been served. So hopefully he realises that he can't run players into the boards. I thought that would be Hockey 101, but you know.
Shall we move on? We've been going 40 minutes and we're only on point 3 of 18.
Yeah, we're fine. So, we've got another interesting one, another suspension. This is the funniest suspension. Nottingham Panthers head coach Rick Chernomaz was suspended 1 game for abuse of officials during the Fife game on Saturday night. To give you a quick summary of what happened, I'm not entirely sure.
He threw a temper tantrum.
Yeah, basically he had a bit of a tantrum.
I know what happened because I was speaking about it last night with Jono and the people at the Lions.
I wasn't entirely sure about the stuff that led up to it. I think it was a disallowed goal or a penalty or something, but it was
a disallowed goal. So the Panthers scored what was apparently a perfectly good goal.
Right.
Which was waved off, and Fife don't have any goal line tech judges.
Right.
So which apparently the league are raising with them in a separate matter because you're supposed to have them now.
Yeah, you're supposed to. Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't have any, so obviously there was no ability to review it, and obviously at the time that would have changed the game, and he really wasn't happy and broke his stick on the side of the bench and took it onto the ice.
So the lead up was disallowed goal, no goal line technology, should have been there. Rick Chernomaz wasn't very happy with this. He took a player's stick, broke it, was shouting at the referees. I can imagine all sorts of obscenities. Of course, I don't know exactly what he said. I would be very interested to know exactly what he said, though. He threw the top half of a broken stick on the ice. Rick Chernomaz wasn't very happy. And rightly so, he was suspended for 1 game. I mean,
which was last night.
Yes, which was last night's game against Dundee. Funnily enough, the game that he's not there, they win. Yeah, I mean, it happens. But the interesting thing, so I'd just like to point out why we mention this as the more funnier one. Abusing officials, not right. Never do it. Bad. No. Very bad. That's not the funny bit. That's he shouldn't have done that. He got suspended for it, rightly so. Like, as three, I would say, yeah, we're three Panthers fans, we would agree he should be suspended for something like that. One game, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. However, the really funny thing was, somebody decided to go and set up a GoFundMe page to help pay Rick Chernomaz's £1,000 fine. So he was suspended one game, and he was also fined £1,000 by the Department of Player Safety. But someone decided to go and help our new head coach out by setting up for the £1,000 goal a GoFundMe page. I'm not going to say who uploaded it, but I will read out what the description of this is. So the GoFundMe page. Can
you read it out without the grammatical errors in it?
I'm going to read it out with the grammatical errors and then say what he actually meant to say. So, the GoFundMe page is called Pay Rick Chernomaz's DOPS Fine. Okay, right, let's have a look. 31 shares, I should also add. So on Saturday the 21st of October, Rick Chernomaz discovered just how poor EIHL officials can be and reacted as many would expect a passionate coach to in his circumstances. Expect a passionate coach to in the circumstances, excuse me. As a result of his understandable, but regrettable, actions, the Department of Player Safety has decided to both ban Rich for a game and levy a £1,000 fine. Whilst we can't do anything about the ban, we can pay his fine. I love that line. In the likely event that Rich declines this offer and pays his fine, all monies raised will be given on his behalf to Autism East Midlands, the Nottingham Panthers' chosen charity this season. Many thanks. So that's the nice bit at the end. We were talking about this just before we started the podcast. It's nice that if Chernomaz is like, what are you doing? Like, I've got the money to pay for it. Leave me alone. He could go, yeah, just give the money to charity. Like, that's nice. Do that instead. That's nice. It's not as if he's gone, well, I mean, if we don't do it, then I'm just going to keep the money for myself. He could have done that. He hasn't. Good job. The interesting thing, though, is 6 people have donated to this. I mean, it hasn't made its £1,000 goal, which I think is good. They've managed to raise £35 to help Rick Chernomaz pay off his fine. 31 shares on Facebook this campaign got. 6 likes. 6 people. Everybody except one person paid in a £5, one person paid in a £10. Even the person that set up this GoFundMe decided to donate to it themselves, which was very nice of them. So, yes. Guys, what do you think about this whole situation? I just find that hilarious, the fact that somebody set up a GoFundMe for this. Like, you can't make this stuff up, can you?
Yeah, we should point out that at no point did the Panthers say, "Hey, fans, pay the fine."
No, exactly. Of course, like the Panthers of Rick Chernomaz, they're going to deal with this like they would deal with it normally. They're not going to go, "This was so unfair. Fans pay for it for us." No, they never asked for a GoFundMe. This was just one fan going, "I want to help out my coach." So what? Well, what do you think, Max?
Well, knowing the person personally, I'm gonna tread carefully because I don't want to upset him.
Yes.
Whether he watches this or not,
he probably doesn't.
I'm gonna give my honest opinion because I always do.
Good.
And he knows that.
Good.
So.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, here we go.
This gentleman is a big hockey fan. He plays. I know him fairly well. And I know that he is a fan of the Detroit Red Wings. One of their famous coaches, Mr. Mike Babcock, known for going off the rails just a little bit.
He's a great coach, though.
He's a very, very good coach.
He's a fantastic coach.
He's known to have a temper tantrum once in a while. He's known to throw his dummy out the pants. This is just. I don't know. It's just a fan reacting, and I didn't know any of this until you guys told me.
Yeah.
So this is completely new. This is completely news to me.
Yeah.
And the fact that I know the person personally who set this up, that's fair enough. So he didn't really publicise it in the way that I thought he would, because I'm on the Panthers page. I didn't see it. I didn't see anything about it. I think he could have done a lot more with it if he wanted to. I don't think he's if he wanted to make this as big as much as £1,000, then he didn't really go about it in the right way.
I think that could be partly, I don't know this obviously, but this could have been, he could have set it up and been like, yeah, take that, Elite League, and then somebody could have been like, what are you doing? Like, let the man pay his fine. Like, you don't need to get involved in this. And he probably thought, oh, yeah, maybe in hindsight he was like, maybe I really didn't need to do that, so he didn't publicise it as much as he could have done.
Yeah, I also know that he is fairly well known within the Panthers community and the hockey community, and obviously a lot of the guys down at the rink also follow the Panthers, also on the pages,
right,
and that sort of thing. I know that he would get a fair bit of backlash if he posted it on certain social sites and certain social circles. He would get quite a bit of chirping or ribbing.
Yeah, he'd get a talking to.
No, I wouldn't say he'd get told off or anything. I'm pretty sure he would hear about it in a comical sense.
Yeah. It's something to take the piss out of, really, isn't it?
Yeah, the Mickey will be certainly taken, and I might send him a message.
I love it. Perfect. Chris, what are your thoughts on the whole scenario? I mean, you're the one that brought it to my attention, so
yeah,
honest,
I think
it's not the first time a crowdfunding has been set up by something for a fan, a coach, a player, or something else.
Of
because
course.
there's been times when players need to get home, and people have crowdfunded for flights, missing kit. I know a fan got a season ticket during the off season. I think it was not this season, but last season.
Yeah, because someone did that at New Jersey, didn't they, or something? And it was like how many retweets for a season tickets? Then one of the Cardiff Devils fans did it and got one as well.
Yeah, and then Panthers did it, and then Panthers organisation weren't playing ball, so the fans said, right, well, we'll set up a crowdfund for this guy's season ticket, and he
sounds like the Panthers.
They got him. It was great, but it wasn't the organisation doing it. It was the fans setting it up. So
which is quite incredible considering that the supporters club were sued.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm surprised they didn't actually pull down the page.
The first one or the one that came after?
Yeah,
there has been two in the era of the Panthers. That's a serious topic for another time.
Yes.
So, I think we covered that actually last year's podcast.
Yes. So let's finish off our Elite League chat. Like we said, we're like 47 minutes into this now.
We need to kind of start racing through some stuff.
Instead of doing the normal play under review, I think we'll turn it into what we've done previously. We were going to talk about... I'll let you know what we were going to talk about. We could talk about it next week if we really want to. But with Sheffield and Nottingham both going through some very tough spells of some inconsistent hockey and lots of L's on their record sheet, we were just essentially going to be like, who's going to take their place in the league, because they're not doing too well. That means there's 2 open spots in some of the top parts of the league table. So we were just going to talk about who we think is going to take their place. We've kind of spoken about it in previous episodes. We can talk about it in next episode in more depth if you want to. And then we were also going to say, like, is this a sign of things moving forwards? Will Nottingham and Sheffield go through a stretch for a continued period of time? Will this mean that some of the other, maybe smaller, underappreciated, quote-unquote, clubs get the chance to have their time in the spotlight and grow and maybe see some trophies or some success? We can talk about that next week. If you guys want us to, let us know in the chat. If you're listening on Spotify, I don't know how many people do. You can't, so sorry. But
you should be here.
Yeah, exactly.
They could tweet in. They could.
Yeah. So we'll change the play under review into something that we decided to do. What was it? The first or second podcast? And we said we'll bring it back every once in a while. The 5-word summary of each EIHL team this season.
Was by far the best bit of the podcast on the week that we did it.
Yeah,
it was so funny.
It was fun. So I've got the Elite League standings up here. So for those of you who didn't actually tune into that, really early on in the Elite League season, the EIHL Twitter page decided to do one of these like, oh, let us know how your teams did this last weekend in 5 words. So we decided to steal that and make it better. So we're going to go through every single team and our thoughts of how well each team has done almost 2 months into the season. I feel like I need to burp.
Yep.
There we go. So, if we go our lovely guest Max, then Chris, then I.
Okay, yep.
I think that's how we'll do it. That's fair. So, we'll go from the bottom of the standings to the top, I think. I think I'll make it more interesting. So, the Milton Keynes Lightning, Max. 5 words to summarise their season so far. Just in case you're wondering, they are 3-7-0 in the regular season. 6 points in 10 games. They've lost their last 2 games.
Where are they in the Challenge Cup? Are they're still to be placed, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So, 5 words to summarise the Milton Keynes Lightning season so far. This is where we all have to sit there and count how many words. Yeah.
No, because I wrote mine beforehand.
Oh, look at you! Oh.
I didn't get onto this. Milton Keynes Lightning. Challenge Cup run more likely.
Yeah.
I like it. Good.
Well, I mean, they are in 3rd in their group.
It's a possibility.
It's still possible.
8 seeds in the Stanley Cup have come to the finals.
Yeah.
That is true.
But yeah.
That is true.
Right, go on, Chris. Lay us on your scripted one.
I'm going all the way back to 1988 with mine.
Okay.
And I'm going for The Only Way Is Up.
I mean, you're not wrong. Well, the only way is either up or stay where they are. So, yeah.
Oh, quite.
That's not bad. So, I haven't scripted mine because I like to think I'm a bit of a comical genius. So, 5 words to summarise the Milton Keynes Lightning. Not the best start, really. That's going to be mine. There you go.
We'll go with it.
So, the Sheffield Steelers is up next. So, Max, in 13 games of the regular season, they have a record of 4 wins and 9 losses for 8 points. They won their last game, but they were on a bit of a losing streak before then. So 5 words to summarise the Sheffield Steelers' first start 13 games of the season.
New coach, old coach, doesn't matter. I know that's 6, but
that's 7.
New coach, old coach, does it matter? Yeah, that's 7. That's 7. Oh, you know what? I'll give you one of my words because mine's only 4.
Oh yeah, go on then.
Right. Okay. Do you want me to go next, or do you want to go, Chris?
No, go on, hey, because otherwise it will be.
Same shit, different season.
You could change. You could change. I'm waiting for it to come through.
Because last season they didn't do very well, did they?
They got to 2 finals, didn't they?
And how'd that turn out for them?
I mean, you could change that if you wanted it to be 5 words and just go same shit, different head coach.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good one. I like that better. See, this is why I should script them, like Chris.
All right, mine is moving on up very slowly.
Yep, okay, that's good. I like it. Good job.
Many syllables.
I mean, yeah, they've won their last game, so anything can happen, folks. So next up is the Dundee Stars for Max. They have Jesus Christ. So the Dundee Stars have a record of 1 win, 4 losses, and 7 overtime losses for 9 points this season. Their current streak is 8 straight losses.
Yep.
So, Max, what do you think?
1 point better than none.
Yeah, that's very true. That is very true. I will give you that one.
Every time I'll still get 1 point.
Chris, go for it.
We're the overtime loss kings.
Yep, very true. And for mine, Dundee Stars. Room for improvement. Got time.
Yeah.
Not the best, not the worst, not funny. Let's move on. So the next one is the Manchester Storm. They have played 12 games. They have a record of 5 wins and 7 losses for 10 points. They recently lost their last game. Max, what do you think?
So what was their record again?
5-7-0.
Sorry. 5-7-0. Let me go last on this one.
All right.
You want to go, Chris?
I've got one that definitely does work and one that pretty much works, but not quite.
Okay.
So my one that definitely does work is the Kings have been inconsistent.
Yeah.
And the one that works pretty much, but really just about not quite, is win 1, lose 1, repeat.
Also known as the Nottingham Panthers.
Yeah.
Or lose 2, then maybe win 1 by the skin of their teeth. What I had for this one was, I don't know if it works, but I think it does. Last season, a distant memory. Because remember, they actually did it right last season. And now they're doing a bit rubbish. So Max, go on. Lay it on us.
500 hockey isn't that bad.
That's 6, isn't it?
No, I'm letting him have the 500
No, sorry,
as a number.
I was thinking 6 syllables. Okay, no, I'll allow it. Okay, next up is the Glasgow Clan, who have played 10 games in the regular season, and they have a record of 5 wins and 5 losses for 10 points, and they most recently lost their last game. Right, Max, you're first.
The pressure on me.
Yeah. I didn't say being a guest would be easy.
Nah, true. Never expected it. And they're just another 500 middle of the road team.
So they're the difficult ones to do.
So find 5 words to say that then.
Average, mid-table.
You could just go with middle of the road team. That is 5 words.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. There you go. See, this is why we have Chris, because sometimes he just knows what he's talking about. Go on, Chris. Give us yours then.
What are we on? We're on Glasgow, aren't we?
Indeed we are.
Mm-hmm.
Right, mine is Challenge Cup base, and I've gone for... So, are we qualified, or...?
Good, okay. So, my 5 words for the Glasgow Clan would be... not really doing anything special.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's not really much you can say about the team.
Complete silence after that shows it was a great one. Right, moving on. The Guildford Flames. This is another one who, exactly like the Glasgow Clan, they have played 10 games, 5 wins, 5 losses, 10 points. However, they won their last game as opposed to Glasgow losing their last game. So, Max.
I'm going to go Dark Horse will do well.
Yes, good. I love it. They are a dark horse, without a doubt.
Oh, whose phone?
That's me. That's the NHL saying that something.
Yeah, it's about the rookie players that they've got.
Yes.
They're coming up to the end of their 9-game stints.
Yeah.
And the ones that might go or might not. Okay, anyway, Chris, you're up.
Yeah, this one is kind of works, kind of doesn't, based on the teams they've played and beaten and who they've given a really good game to.
Go for it.
I've just kind of gone with arena teams bow to us.
I like it. Good. Yeah, they've been good against the arena team so far this year. My 5 words for the Guildford Flames are they will still surprise people.
Yeah.
Thank you, because they are my dark horse team this season. Thank you very well. They were last year as well, and I think that was justified. So next we have the Coventry Blaze, who have played only 9 games in the regular season, and they have a record of 5 wins, 3 losses, and 1 overtime loss for 11 points on the season, and they have a 2-game winning streak. Max, go for it. You're up.
Just because I don't really hear much about the Blaze anymore, not making much noise here.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's very
They're,
good.
they're quietly going about their business.
Exactly.
They're doing what they need to do. They're not exactly shouting from the rooftop. They're not exciting me this year, but they're doing what they're doing.
They're essentially just doing their job, which is great.
Yeah.
There's no drama. There's no like huge articles or head coaches being fired or players being shipped off. They're just doing the job.
Yeah.
Chris, go for it.
I've gone for we used to win titles.
Yes.
I mean, it's not as if they're not in the running to win a title this year. Like, come on.
No, they've just not done it for a while.
Yeah, fair point. I'm actually going to use, this is what I was thinking for, and Max actually brought it up. Quietly going about their business. You know, just like 5 words, sums it up. Like we said.
Yeah.
Next, we have the Cardiff Devils, who have played 9 games. They have, like Chris said at the very beginning of this podcast, the best overall record, the best point percentage of the entire Ice Hockey League, with 8 wins, 1 regulation loss against the Panthers for 16 points, and they are on a 6-game winning streak. So, Max, you're up.
He's got to count on his fingers every time.
We're all doing it. Don't you lie, Chris. We all do it.
Well, I've written mine down, so I did it before.
You were sitting there when you were figuring it out.
You've got nothing else better to do.
Right, go for it.
I'm on holiday. Deal with it.
There you go. So, yeah, 3 cups will win 1.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
At least
they're
going to get 1 up.
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless the Steelers get all of them.
Oh yeah. or the Blaze come out of nowhere and just set the league alight.
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Hey. Right, Chris, go for it.
I'm going for meh. Didn't like Europe anyway.
Hashtag Brexit. Am I right, folks? Getting all political.
I think they got.
I meant the CHL, but
I
go on.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Okay, so for mine, it will be. Can anyone actually stop them?
Yeah. Well, no, I meant no, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, I agree. No, they can't. Yeah. Pretty much summed up. Next, so we're down to the final 3, ladies and gentlemen. The Belfast Giants, with 12 games played so far in the regular season, they have 8 wins and 4 losses for 16 points, and their current winning streak is they've lost their last game.
Yep.
So
that was to Guildford. That's the basis of mine.
Exactly. So, the Belfast Giants. Go for it, Max. Love putting you on the spot. It's great.
Should have come to me first, really, because I've already prepared all mine.
Yeah, I know. Tell you what, send Chris first on this one again, because Giants are difficult for me. Carry on.
All right.
Chris,
I went for stupid Guildford broke our streak.
Good. I like it. Very nice.
It's an 8-game winning streak before that.
Oh, wow. Fair play. So mine for Belfast will be like something along the lines of doing good, room for improvement. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See, didn't give you much time, Max. Go for it. Sorry. Go.
I've got one now. Challenge Cup win this year?
Maybe. I mean, they won it last year. Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. So, penultimately, we have the Fife Flyers. 10 games played with a record of 8 wins, 1 loss and 1 overtime loss. They have 17 points on the season, and they lost their last game. However, of course, they're still having a fantastic year. What do you think, Max?
Yeah. Top half of the league.
Yeah. Good. Nice. Chris, go for it.
That's even higher than that, I think. But
I've gone for air's pretty thin up here.
Nice. Okay, good.
Is that a nod to air in Scotland?
Hey.
You're welcome.
And mine's a question. Will they win the league?
I hope so. I'd love the Fife to win the league. It'd be great.
To win the league. That'd be great.
Can you imagine like the top teams in Europe coming to play on a ice rink that's just got curling markings on it?
Yeah, that doesn't have goal line technology. Oh, that would be the day, lads.
Maybe they'll get it because the CHL will fund it.
Ah, yeah, very true. That's what they're waiting for. We figured it out, ladies and gents. They're waiting for the Champions Hockey League to...
You heard it here first.
So,
Champions Hockey League, fund our team.
Yeah, maybe they'll set up a GoFundMe and CHL will donate £2,000 to it. I don't know. So, last but certainly not least, the Nottingham Panthers. 15 games played. They are currently at the top of the league, not for much longer. 9 wins, 6 losses for 18 points. Their current streak, they won a game. They also have the second highest penalty minutes of the entire league, just so you know.
Yeah.
So, Max, I don't think we need to save you till last for this one. Go.
No.
No, I can go for it. I just had one as well, boss.
I love it when that happens.
Oh,
You're just like, this was a great one. Fuck.
Yeah. And then I celebrated an overtime win, and I've gone backwards. Oh no, it's gone. No, go, Chris, go.
Okay, Chris, go. Bail him out quick.
Mine is slightly wrong, but you will get it because it needs to be one word.
Okay.
And I know obviously it's not them, but I've gone for anything else we can crowdfund.
A better defense, perhaps. So mine will be. Good luck. You'll need it.
Ah, I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. So Max, last but certainly not least, go for it.
It can't be Christmas yet.
Good. Okay. So
better not be Christmas. I'm going again in a couple of weeks.
So that will summarise our 5-word summary of each of the teams, how they're doing after the first 2 months of the EIHL regular season. Woo! So that's the EIHL done. It only took us about an hour and 5 minutes, which was great.
Oh, I know.
We'll move on. It's only some quick things for the rest. Pretty much. The EIHL is the stuff that we spend the most time on. Understandably so.
Well, that's what we all know the best. So.
Exactly. So the NHL. We'll move swiftly on to the NHL. So most teams have played about 8 games now this season. I watched the 2 periods of the Rangers game against Calgary last night.
How did you stand 2 periods of Rangers hockey?
They played all right. They take a load of shots. They just don't take very good shots. That's the problem.
I wish I knew what it was like to watch ice hockey where they took shots.
Yeah. So, in terms of the league, Nashville at the top with 14 points. Colorado and Toronto have 12 points. Tampa, Winnipeg, and Anaheim have 11 points. Montreal, surprisingly, Calgary, Vancouver, Boston, Chicago, Minnesota, and Buffalo all have 10 points. I'm just running through these. Yeah, Vancouver 5-3-0. Ottawa, Ottawa, San Jose, and Carolina all have 9 points. New Jersey, so Carolina's lost their last 3 games. Yeah, wow. New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Washington, Philadelphia, and Vegas all have 8 points. Vegas have won their last 3 straight. That's pretty cool. After a very slow start to the season. It helped Marc-Andre Fleury get the 3rd star of the week in the NHL. The Edmonton Oilers, the Islanders, the Dallas Stars, the St. Louis Blues all have 6 points. Then with 5 points, we have Florida, the LA Kings, and the New York Rangers. Woo, we're not last. And then in last, we have the Arizona Coyotes and the Detroit Red Wings, who both have...
It's because they don't have Liam Kirk, that's why.
That's very true. They're 2-5 to start the year. Oh, it's rough. So, those are the standings in the NHL. If you want to see the standings yourself, go look them up. They're really not that hard to find. Nashville, once again, still at the top of the league. They won the President's Trophy last season. They're on a 5-game winning streak. Only lost 1 game so far this season. They are a perfect record away from home. But they're 3-1-0 in the Bridgestone Arena. So that's very interesting. So, yeah, it's quite obvious that Nashville, Colorado are picking up where they left off. Toronto have kind of come a bit back down to earth with a couple of losses
they
in
have,
the last few. Winnipeg have won their last 2 straight. Minnesota have won their last 3 straight, which is pretty cool. So we're starting to see a bit more of a divide, but to give you a bit of context, there's only 10 points separating 1st and 31st. So
we're not even 10% through the season for a lot of the teams.
Exactly. So looking at the...
Who's got a dog?
It's always Max. Go, we bring in a guest. It's so disruptive. God.
I try and be quiet. I'm living in.
Phone goes off. Dog goes. At least you don't get broken into like I did.
Yeah, next thing we need broken into. Skype
getting...
ringtone to come on halfway through. We're sorted. We've got the trifecta. So
it's all right. I purposely didn't put the dishwasher on this week, so it's all right.
So, is there anything that's jumping out to you guys? 8-9 games into the season with either your favourite teams, like the Canucks, boo, or thanks for the 1994 Stanley Cup Finals though, or the Toronto Maple Leafs, anything like that. Feel free.
Well, I mean, similarly to Nashville, the Maple Leafs also have a perfect away record. It's just at home where they're just not.
And for a defense like they have, not very good.
Well, 30 goals against in 9 games. Compare that to Nashville, have only conceded 15.
Because Nashville have one of the best defensive cores in the NHL.
Yeah.
They are a solid team.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say Toronto isn't a solid. They are an absolutely solid team.
Yeah,
except for
in the forward lines.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, just in case you guys didn't know, Toronto Maple Leafs general manager, Kyle Dubas, has gone to Switzerland to go and talk to Mr. William Nylander about getting a contract sorted.
Yeah, just sort it out.
Yeah. Apparently, there's some video that I saw from like one of the big hockey networks, like NHL Network or TSN, or I don't know, saying that somebody's been quoted saying there's like an 80% chance of Nylander being signed before December 1st, which, I mean, means nothing.
He just needs to be signed to sort my fantasy out.
Essentially, they're looking at a shorter contract now as opposed to a long-term deal. They're looking at more like a 3 or 4 year contract at a reduced salary, which would really help the Maple Leafs out, I would think. They're looking at more of a bridge deal as opposed to a long-term contract, just so they can get him playing again. If not, if they don't get something sorted out, I can imagine William Nylander might actually go and sign in the KHL for the year, which would be very interesting. Go sign with SK St. Petersburg. That'd be great. Yakupov's there and he's doing great, so do it. So, yeah, Max, what have you thought about the first week of the NHL season, first few weeks?
Well, Vancouver shocked me for, not if you say I wasn't expecting us to win a game for the first God knows how long. So, yeah, it's a bit too soon to really to really see how things are doing. Yeah, you can see your forwards are scoring, and your goalies might pull off some miraculous saves here and there.
Yeah,
but nobody's thinking about defense. Everyone's thinking about putting points on the board and just trying to outscore each other and just say we've got more firepower than you.
Sorry, you go for it.
Okay, I was going to say the team that's going to stand out is the team that's going to start playing defense a lot stronger than the others, and that is Nashville.
Yes.
It could be San Jose.
Yes. The one thing that I will mention is some people might not know that there's been a big debate about goaltender equipment that's been going on for the last few years. There's been a reduction in the equipment that the goaltenders can use this season. I think it was to do... I don't know the exacts on this, so don't quote me on it, but I think it was the shoulder pads. I think the shoulder pads were part of it. Essentially, they had to slim down the size of the shoulder pads or something like that. Essentially, they've been wanting to change the goaltender equipment for the last few years because they feel like it gives them too much of an advantage. So a lot of NHL goaltenders are having to adjust to these, quote, new pieces of equipment, whatever those pieces of equipment are, which could potentially be the reason for the huge amount of offense that's been scored to begin this season. Whilst that, like you said, Max, that's the way that most of the seasons begin. It's like a case of we need to find who's scoring the goals. Players start off hot because they've been away for so long. We're not in that mid-season form where players are starting to get a bit fatigued, or there's injuries, or players are starting to find their form, starting to find chemistry. So it might, you could argue that that's had a bit of an impact on how well the how many goals are being scored and how many goals are being allowed by goaltenders. That's not the whole story, obviously, so I don't think they can put it fully on that.
It is part of it. So I kind of remember hearing something during the off season as to what the chest armor kind of what you were alluding to. So it kind of stops. Your chest armor has to fit you.
Yeah.
So you can't have a smaller goalie going out and wearing the larger chest piece.
Yeah.
Subsequently, you can't have the larger goalie going for an even larger chest piece, filling up more of the goal. Like it's got to conform to his body,
which I think makes sense.
Yeah, of course it does. but then there is always that fine line of what's safe, what's actually protecting them, and what they're physically able to do in them. Now I'm feeling if it's as long as the materials are right and they conform to the body and they can move properly, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But there's also been talks to reducing the catcher size and reducing the blocker size and slimming down the leg pads and all sorts. But then you're moving back. I feel like you're moving backwards. You spent all this technology protecting the goalkeepers, and you're taking that protection away because there's not as much of it, and you're moving back into the area of like stand-up goalkeepers with pillows on the legs.
Yeah, I think it is very important to note that they're not going to make any changes to goaltender equipment unless they're like absolutely sure that changing the equipment won't impact the health of the goaltenders or the risk of injury to a specific area. Like I think that's why quite a lot of these changes, like the NHL have been wanting to cut down goaltender equipment sizes for the last like 3 or 4 years. So this is something that's been trying to go on for quite a while, but they want to make sure that the goalies have... It's been a combination of the goalies saying, no, we don't want to drop our equipment size, we're happy with how it is, and also them wanting to make sure that the health and the fitness of their goaltenders isn't put in jeopardy as a result of these changes. So yeah, it's very interesting. A lot of goals being scored early on in the season. But this moves us on to kind of focus on a couple of different teams in the National Hockey League. Just seeing some articles being released about them, seeing how their records are doing early on in this season. So the LA Kings, something very interesting came out of LA over the last week or so, last couple of days. The LA Kings have lost 4 straight games in the National Hockey League. Their most recent loss was against the Buffalo Sabres. They have a record of 2 wins, 5 losses, and 1 OT or shootout loss for 5 points on the season. They're a -13 in goal difference. They are 1-2-1 at home, 1-3-0 away. Like I said, they've lost their last 4 straight games. And at the end of their game against Buffalo, where they lost by a score of 5-1, the players decided that they wanted to have a closed meeting, a players-only meeting. No media allowed, no coaches, nothing like that allowed in the locker room. They had 30 minutes where they just discussed everything that was going on with their team and how they with the media having asked the team members afterwards. It was about how they're going to sort of right this ship and be competitive again. I mean, this is early on in the season that they can do something like this, and we can see if the results take place. So the question is, the Kings have lost their last 4 games. They've had this big meeting. They're really not doing very well at the moment. They've always been known, since they won their Stanley Cups in 2012 and 2014, respectively, as being a big sort of outmuscle your opponent. They're a very physical team, and that has paid off come the playoffs. However, as the game has moved into more of a... You don't need to be that big. Elias Pettersson is a prime example of this. You can be a smaller guy, a more lanky guy, not really much muscle on you, but you can be a solid contributor to a hockey team. The speed and skill over the size and the strength, as it were. I guess the question is, I'd like to ask both of you guys this. The LA Kings, with their big sort of out-muscle, out-strength philosophy that they've had, it's kind of been changing, but it's still kind of the philosophy that they have given the players that they have on their roster. Is the fact that they're doing so badly to start the season a sign that their strategy is outdated now, or is this just a slow start? Who would like to begin?
I think it's just a slow start.
Okay.
I mean, we're only 8 games in, so I don't think that it's time to massively panic and go, oh, we need to change the way that we play. That being said, for me, technical ability and speed will always beat brawn and muscle.
In today's NHL, yes.
Yes, yeah.
I mean,
in terms of this season.
It is also key to point out that the LA Kings obviously won the sweepstakes for Ilya Kovalchuk this season. They signed it's a guy that knows how to throw the body round, but he is more of a goal-scoring guy. Just to give you a bit of context, the LA Kings, since winning their Stanley Cup in 2014, out of the 4 seasons that they've played since, in 2 of the seasons, they have made the first round and been eliminated. And in the other 2 seasons, they didn't make the playoffs. They've won 1 playoff game in the last 4 years since winning their Stanley Cup. So, whether that affects what you're thinking, I could argue that, yeah, maybe this is a sign of their team philosophy and what they became known for kind of has gone a bit out of fashion. Because if we take it, for example, they won their cup in 2012. They made the conference finals the next year. They won the Stanley Cup the year after that. They didn't qualify the year after they won the Stanley Cup. They lost in 5 games the year after that. They didn't qualify 2 seasons ago. They got swept by the Golden Knights last season. Max, what do you think?
Well, let's take the Golden Knights out of the equation because that was just a ridiculous year for them, and it seems to be that anybody that came up to them. So let's just kind of scrap that year. The LA Kings, since winning their cups, the LA Kings they held off on that rebuild. They held off on that rebuild, and now they're aging. I'm not going to say that they're old.
Yeah.
They're aging. They've brought in Ilya Kovalchuk, who's not exactly young.
It's 35, I believe.
Yeah. Granted, in his career, he's almost a point-a-game player. I think I've just looked. He's 3 points off being a point-a-game player.
Yeah, he was a point-a-game when he left the NHL. Since he's come back, he's slightly under.
He's 3 points off. I've literally checked. But their roster just seems to have been around since they won the cup. I can't see much freshness, and Jonathan Quick's not getting any younger. I feel like
you've got Doughty and Phaneuf in defence as well, and
Dion the pylon.
Go around him sideways. So I just feel like they kind of relied a lot on Jonathan Quick, and now he's not getting younger. He's just come back off injury reserve, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's gotten quite injury prone the last few years.
Yeah, exactly. I just think that they need to have a reshuffle. They need to have a rethink and just say, look, shall we just trade? What I think they should do is trade what they've got, get themselves a shed load of picks, and just say, look, right, we tried for the longest period of time. It's got progressively worse. We understand that, and bear with us.
Because the thing is, when they were in their Stanley Cup window, they made the most of it. They won 2 cups in 3 years. There's so many teams, the New York Rangers, that when they're in their Stanley Cup window, they don't win a Stanley Cup. And then it passes by, and then they have to go through the entire rebuild stage. They won their first and second Stanley Cups in franchise history in their Stanley Cup window. They did what they were supposed to. Now it's a case of, but like you say, trade away some of their players. The problem is, who's going to take them? You know, like they're a team that, as a unit, there's some good players on that roster. Don't get me wrong. Anze Kopitar is a fantastic player. He's a brilliant defensive forward. He's consistently one of the best defensive centers in the league. Tyler Toffoli's a solid pickup. Jonathan Quick, when he's healthy, can be an absolute solid goaltender. There's a few players there that have a lot of good value. The thing is, they're kind of bringing up some of their prospects, or they're getting young players in the pipeline a year or two too late, like you mentioned.
I could tell you 3 teams off the top of my head that would snap their hand off for players like that and give them exactly what they wanted.
Yeah,
that's Florida, Carolina, and Arizona.
Yeah, it's very true.
They would take them veterans, and they would probably prosper in them sort of areas because they would be given the time. They'd be given the team to build around. Like the Arizona would put a line around those sort of players, or one of those players. Like they'd be made into that team. And I think at least those 3 would take that sort of player.
The only thing I would say is Florida would probably be in the market for Jonathan Quick once Luongo retires. The other 2, I probably wouldn't say so because they've got a solid group of players up front there. anything you want to add quickly, Chris, before we move on? Because we're kind of running out of time now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like I said. I mean, following on from what you said, they won the cups in their window.
Yeah.
They've now got to start the cycle again. A lot of in fact, in the big four sports in particular, teams go in cycles. They build and they build up to a window and go, we're going to try and win the cup in between these years, say. Yeah. And then we're going to start it again. So,
and that's the wonderful thing about the salary cap. Like a hard salary cap, you don't get the same team winning every year at Golden State. But I think it's quite good to have the fact that, quote unquote, every team kind of gets a chance, and you get that window where it's like, right, now here's your chance, go and win everything. If you don't, it's kind of your fault. It's not like, oh well, this team's overpowered, we couldn't beat them. Like, you have the same money as everybody else, get it done. So yeah, very interesting. And then the other NHL team I just wanted to talk about quickly before we move on to the very quick fire stuff. The Montreal Canadiens are a team that nobody is expected to do very well this season. I personally don't think they're going to do very well. However, they're one of the best teams in the league at the moment. They're in the top 10 of the league, if I just get their record up roughly. They have a record of 4 wins, 1 loss, and 2 overtime or shootout losses in 7 games. For 10 points, their last game was a 4-3 overtime loss against the Ottawa Senators. They are currently 7th in the league, or tied 7th in the league with about 5 other teams. But they're doing pretty well for themselves so far. And of course, that has a lot to do with the sudden emergence of Jesper Kotkaniemi and Carey Price playing to his previous top goaltender in the world, arguably, pace. So, just a quick fire answer from the two of you guys. Do you think this will be sustained by the Montreal Canadiens, or do you think this is just a fast start by a young team, and eventually they'll start to rack up those losses as the fatigue and the season and the chemistry with other teams gets better?
Chris, go.
Okay, yeah, I'll go first. I think it's a fast start, personally.
Mm-hmm.
I think that once we get into the business end of the season, it's a long, grueling season. If you don't have that fitness level there, which it takes you a few years in the league to kind of get there, then you're just not ready for it, and the veterans of the league will just completely dominate you towards the latter half of the season.
Yep.
So I think it's a fast start.
I agree. What about you, Max?
Yeah, I mean, they could ride the wave for another couple of weeks, maybe even another month or so. But again, they're another team in the midst of a rebuild or a reboot, or a
reload, as some might call it.
Reload, or whatever terminology you want to use for it. So would they be okay with dropping off? About a third, or just over 2/3 into, well, not even that.
Well, they have the highest paid goaltender in NHL history, so. So whether they're happy to let Carey Price miss the playoffs again, it's a good question.
Trust me, having a good goaltender, if they've got to face a lot of shots, I know this from watching it on a weekly basis. If you've got to face, I mean, it's not quite this extreme, but if you're facing over 70 shots...
or scoring 66 goals.
You're going to let goals in.
Yeah, I mean, like I've said it on the podcast I did with 5 Points Vids a couple of weeks ago. I've probably said it on here as well. Carey Price is the sort of goaltender that can steal you several games.
Yeah.
Like he'll get them at least 20, 30 wins this season without a doubt, and then it takes the rest of the team to kind of step up and do their job. So yeah, I personally think it's a fast start by Montreal again. I think they could carry it for a little while, but eventually they'll be not necessarily exposed, but they'll be seen as the team that we expected of them. If they don't, then brilliant, fair play to Montreal. They've taken a lot of young guys, they're basically kind of following the Vegas method. They would have essentially followed the Vegas method to an extent of taking a lot of guys that teams kind of wanted to give up on, a couple of guys with some chips on their shoulder. I just don't want Marc Bergevin to be seen as right. He's an awful general manager. So, moving on to Kirk's Corner. Ba-da-ba-ba-da. Kirk's Corner.
Kirk's Corner.
Exactly. So, Kirk's Corner, of course, we talk about the British hockey phenom, Liam Kirk, currently with the Peterborough Petes of the Ontario Hockey League. And things aren't going very well for Liam Kirk over the last 2 weeks. He got off to a really fast start, scoring 4 points in his first 3 or 4 games. Unfortunately, he has gone scoreless ever since. He's been shuffled around pretty much every single scoring line. I think last game he started on the 4th line.
He had a very small injury.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So that's why he went down. So he missed a couple of games, and now he's back in the 4th, and has kind of got to work his way back up. Okay,
I didn't know that. So that kind of impacts some of the stuff that's going on there. Right, my bad. I should have done a bit more research. So Liam Kirk, obviously, he's adjusting to the North American game, I think is the best way to put it. Nobody expected him to go into the league and scorch it up 100 points in his first season. That's still possible.
We're all hopeful.
Yeah, it's the OHL. I think it's junior leagues. Like, a player can go in and score 17 million points in a game and nobody would bat an eyelid, So, yeah, hopefully Kirk, he recovers from this injury fully. He feels like himself again, and he starts to tear up the league once again. That would be absolutely brilliant.
Yep. 3 games this week: Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Thursday away to the Niagara Ice Dogs. Friday at home to the Sudbury Wolves, and then on Sunday away at the Owen Sound Attack.
Interesting. Okay, some good teams up there. Some good teams up there to play against. As we know, well, as has been seen, the Peterborough Petes, they had a great start to the season. They've kind of dropped off a little bit. They lost their game last night against the Oshawa Generals, I want to say.
Yes.
Yes.
4-1.
Yes, that's it. So, yeah, this is kind of... His drop in point production has obviously coincided with a small injury and the Peterborough Petes not doing so well. So hopefully we'll see them improve. And hopefully we'll see Liam Kirk's numbers improve. And hopefully we'll see him on the Arizona roster at some point. So, moving on to the KHL news. I just wanted to follow up on something we talked about last week. Avto Mobilist, of course, we mentioned last week that they had reached a winning streak of 18 games. They were hoping to try and beat the 20-game winning streak to start their perfect season that SK St. Petersburg had last season. They had a 20-game winning streak, I believe. Unfortunately for Avto Mobilist, their streak and their perfect season was stopped at 18 games. Thanks to Barris Astana, the team that Ben O'Connor was supposed to play for. They were beaten 2-1 in that game, I believe. And they were only 2 games shy of tying the record 20 games. However, since they did lose that game, they have won their next 2 games, including a game yesterday in overtime 2-1, I believe. So they're going 20-1 in their first 21 games of the season. And it'll be very interesting to see if Avto Mobilist win the regular season championship or the Gagarin Cup. I think they're very much in the running for it at the moment. They have some good ex-NHL players, like we've mentioned before, David Desharnais, Maxime Talbot. They've got some good players on that roster. And the interesting news that I saw out of the KHL, which isn't on the list for you guys, so don't worry about it. Wojtek Wolski, the ex-NHL player, who has spent the last season with the Metallurg Magnitogorsk KHL team. He suddenly had his contract terminated by the team. It was a mutual agreement by the sounds of it. And Wolski's gone to go and play with a different hockey team. He put out a tweet yesterday saying thank you to Magnitogorsk for everything and the KHL for everything. He's excited to play for his new team. However, he didn't actually mention which team he was going to play for. So if that's been released now, there's been some rumours that he might have been picked up by an AHL team or an NHL team. He very surprisingly, very famously played for Team Canada at the Olympic Hockey Games. Yeah, the Olympic Hockey Games in Korea last year. Even though he broke his neck only 2 seasons or so ago, like he had a massive sort of rehab situation, and he actually played very well for Team Canada at the Olympics. So he was a very interesting story going in there. But yeah, where does Wolski end up? I don't know. He never said. So I guess we'll find out, and we might say that next episode. Anything to add on the KHL from you two?
No, not really, to be honest.
No, awesome, good. I'm glad that I follow it though. KHL is very good, honestly. Like if you're looking for some more time zone friendly stuff, I know I've said this on the stream before, and this isn't specifically to you two, this is to the viewers as well. If you want to watch hockey and you're not really that fussed about the commentary because they mainly speak in Russian, you can't understand a word they're saying. If you get the KHL app, you can pay for it's like 99 pence for a game in HD to watch on their app. It's actually really good. They show some KHL games on Free Sports as well. And on Premier Sports as well. So if you have Premier Sports or you watch Free Sports and you're wanting to get into a bit of KHL hockey, it's the second best league to the NHL without a doubt. They have a lot of ex-NHL players. I would go and give it a watch if you get the chance. It's very good. So, the extra news before we finish with the fantasy sports. The Kenyan Ice Lions. The Kenyan Ice Lions, of course we mentioned them last podcast with their fantastic journey from Nairobi over to Canada to play with Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon. There's been a lot of news coverage for them, which I think has been really nice. They've been one of the most heartwarming stories I think I've seen in hockey. I think one of them, compared to something like the Humboldt Broncos and the tragedies that they went through, this is more of a heartwarming story that has brought the whole hockey community together, which is nice to see. Of course, it's important to touch on the tough subjects, the tragedies that happen in the hockey world. It's nice to see something that's quite uplifting and quite happy take place that the hockey community can gather around. And I just wanted to mention that they released another video. I think it might have been the NHL Twitter page or the NHL website. Might have been Tim Hortons because that was the company that kind of brought them over to Canada. But they went to Toronto to the Hockey Hall of Fame to go and visit the actual Stanley Cup, which I thought was absolutely lovely. They all got their chance to go and touch the cup. When I was in Toronto over this summer, I didn't touch the Stanley Cup because you don't actually touch it unless you win it. Just putting it out there. They went to go and have a journey with that, which is absolutely awesome. The captain of the Kenyan Ice Lions, his name escapes me at this moment in time. He actually went to go and see a game with of the Pittsburgh Penguins against Toronto, and he got to meet Sidney Crosby again and got to go and get a jersey from Sidney Crosby, which was absolutely awesome. They're just such a lovely story, you know. They're such a heartwarming situation to have come out of a country that doesn't really have hockey very often in their situation. So, yeah, I think it's really nice to see the Kenyan Ice Lions get a bit of exposure. Maybe that means another team, they actually find an opponent to play against on a somewhat regular basis. Maybe that means more players sign up so that they can have more games take place on their ice rink and have more opponents. Keep following it, guys. It's so heartwarming to watch. I love whenever they bring up an update. Like the NHL Network did a big interview with the captain of the Kenyan Ice Lions, and he's just so happy the fact that they've been considered, they've been given this opportunity to kind of travel the world and have this experience. So it's really touching. It's really nice. Anything to add, guys?
Yeah, I really like the story. I hope they do get to do, play more games and all the rest of it. I think what you touched on at the start of your point there is the big point, is that hockey is maybe unlike any other sport that I can certainly think of off the top of my head, where it is a community.
Yeah.
There isn't hooliganism like in football. You don't get put in hospital because somebody's punched you in the head just because you support the other team.
Yeah.
No, and that's one of the reasons I really like hockey.
Like there are fan bases that, there are people in fan bases that take things a bit too far. There's like the majority of, and we've mentioned this on podcasts before, the majority of fan bases, they'll kind of dislike the other team until the final buzzer goes, and then they're back to being hockey fans as opposed to Panthers and Steelers fans, or two Scottish teams going up against each other. Like I think it's really nice, like you said, that hockey's more of a family than quite a lot of the other sports out there, which is really nice. I think whenever something happens in the hockey community, whether it's good or bad, the community itself just loves to come together and either celebrate or mourn with each other over something. Of course, like several seasons ago, quite a while ago, we had the massive thing out of the KHL with the locomotive team basically all passing away in a big plane crash. Like you notice how how hockey brings everyone. Like, for example, the Humboldt Broncos, of course, the massive tragedy they had. Of course, I didn't talk about this in any of my videos for obvious reasons. I mentioned this nearer the time. Like, the hockey community still talk about that. They not as a sense of, we need to keep talking about it because this bad thing happened. It's more like we want to make sure everybody's is doing as okay as they can be. Like, we actually care. It's not we're doing this because it will get us clicks or subscribers or anything. It's, we are genuinely interested and we want to know these people are doing well after having such a tough thing happen to them, which is really touching. It's really heartwarming. So, yeah. Anything to add, Max?
Well, some of the nicest things. I've got one other happy story before we move on to fantasy hockey as well. So the one thing I wanted to add on the Humboldt Broncos thing is during the playoffs, I don't know if you two were there or saw it on the streams and stuff, but started off by the then Brayhead clan was a chant, "Let's go Broncos," and the whole arena did that. A few years prior to that, I can't remember the girl's name. I'm pretty sure her name was Beth. Somebody, a Sheffield Steelers fan.
Yes, I can remember who you mean.
Who had a horrible medical problem and passed away, but she was a massive part of their club. And I think for pretty much every Steelers game, wherever they went, that chant started out. When I think she died at the age of 21, unfortunately.
Wow.
Lost. So the 21st minute, like 1 minute into the second period, they'd all start chanting and stuff, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
And that sort of stuff really does resonate with a lot of people who just go around the league. Another really nice story that's happened recently out of something that happened that was quite sad in the game against Nottingham versus Sheffield, the most recent one in Nottingham. The puck left the playing surface and struck a fan in the face.
Yeah.
And cut the young lad just above his eye. If it was any lower, I'm pretty sure he would have lost his eye.
Shit.
Or at least lost sight. He had at least 6 to 8 stitches in his face.
Fuck.
A really nice shiner. And could barely see out of it for about a week or so.
Wow.
He's made a complete recovery. He's fine. He thinks it's a wicked scar, and it's lovely.
I love it.
But
as you do at that age.
Yeah, as you do at that age. And he's become a bit of a phenomenon on Panthers, on the Panthers pages and stuff. But the thing that's kind of struck out the most, it came off a Sheffield Steelers stick. The player was David Phillips. He has personally contacted the family, brought them down to Sheffield, took them around the whole arena, inside and out.
Oh, that's so cool.
He got one-on-one interaction, saw behind the scenes, and everything else.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and only now have the Panthers said, "Oh, we're going to do something just as good."
Yeah.
And he's a Nottingham Panthers fan.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I don't like to say it, but I'm pretty sure if David Phillips and the Sheffield Steelers had not have done that, would Panthers have done the same?
I will say though, like the Sheffield Steelers are an interesting organisation. What they do right is that fan stuff. Like there's stories like all the time of like, oh, my kid blah 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 blah, or so something bad happens, or like, oh, my kid really wanted to meet this player, but he didn't get the chance, or he was too shy to. So they're like, yeah, come on down. Like I think that's really awesome. Like they do like giving those fans that exclusive Steelers experience. They do that really well.
Yeah, at their home games, they've got fans. I don't know whether they're sponsors or whether they pay to be there or whatever, but they've always got fans on the bench during warm-ups.
Yeah.
My thoughts should be that they should have some sort of headgear on or something. But
yes.
Hey, fair enough.
I think they're the game sponsors.
Yeah, I would have thought there's some player sponsors of some sort that they get to pick to go to a match or the match that they're at or whatever. But
Ben has also mentioned Scarlet's Army, which is another.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to get to that. Yeah, really, that's come out of Cardiff.
That's the most recent one as well. And I think that's from Cardiff Devils,
yes.
And they've done well. They jumped on the EIHL's if you can play, you can play with the LGBT community, and they had specialist jerseys and everything like that. And I think the teams that do that are the best, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Like for all the sort of the league, all the problems that we have with the league in terms of the actual play, the experience that they give to the fans is second to none, without a doubt. And for quite a lot of these young kids, for example, it means the world to them, and it makes them hockey fans for life, because people they'll actually take the time to spend time with them. As much as I'd love to talk about this topic more, we've got one more thing to talk about, which is the Fantasy League, and then we'll have a quick fire, maybe 1 or 2 questions, because we're almost at 2 hours with this live stream. So if I bring up Boom, stream. So if I do this one instead, bear with me. Where is it?
Oh, I'm still on the screen. Yeah.
Oh no, let me do it instead. Yeah, let's just do this one. So you can see Max there as well. That's nice. I'll take Max off of the screen as well. So you can't see any of us. Instead, you can see the actual scoreboard of what is taking place with the Fantasy League. So once again, reminder: sort out your teams. I'm going to sort out my team as this stream ends. So make sure.
Mine earlier.
So last week we had the 15th to the 21st of October, the Odd Men Out Hockey League standings. So I lost my first game of the season. I was leading up until last night. And then whoever has the Toronto Thunderbirds he had more people playing yesterday, and they had more of an impact. So I lost by a score of 85 to 74. I was winning 74 to 72, I think, before the end of the night. Chris's Nottingham Lions beat the Nottingham Redhawks 89 to 46.
Only a game the Lions have won all season.
Indeed. Clarkie's Infants beat Stanley Yelnats 60 to 55. The Shaw Billionaires beat Trump's Fake Wife, who I'm playing this week, 88 to 47. The Denver Sports Team beat the Pyongyang Sucklords, I love that name, 79 to 62. And then Max's Nottingham Outlaws beat the Nottingham Ute 75 to 70. Very close match. The Portsmouth Pirates beat the Croatian Jets 110 to 45. And the Beanheads beat Habsuck, don't know, 79 to 76. So we'll just take a quick look at the standings, and then we'll get on to the questions. So, audience, if you have any questions that you want to ask us, start putting them in the chat now. We will get onto them. But if we just quickly look at the standings, we've got loads of ads on here. They better give me some ad revenue for this. Right, so in the...
Jaguar.
Yeah. In the Eastern Conference, we have the Lions and the Shaw Billionaires up at first place with 3 wins and no losses. Myself in third, technically, but second, also technically. 2 wins and a loss. Then loads of teams with 1 win and 2 losses. And then 2 teams with no wins and 3 losses. Then Max is leading up the Western Conference, 2-0. Denver is going 3-0. But he's only played more games, that's the difference. Beanheads and Habsuck 2-1-0. Duncan PlayStation's Portsmouth Pirates and the Croatian Jets all 1-2-0, and the Nottingham Yeet 0-2-0. So those are your standings.
If you really want to separate all the players who have got perfect records so far, then it's the Shaw Billionaires that are topping the entire league on points scored.
Wow, fair
with
play.
256. The Denver Sports Team have 249. Beanheads have 232, although they've lost a game. Habsuck don't know also have 232, but again they've lost a game. Then it's the Lions with 223. Oddman, you have 201.
Hey!
And Max, you have 152, but of course you had a bye week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, lovely.
We'll let you off.
It was lovely.
Well, I mean, if you divide that by 2 and you give yourself 76, and then add that on, you're up at 224, which is level with me. So.
Ah, nice. So we're coming to the end of the stream now. We're about an hour and 45 minutes in. Audience questions, last call, everyone. So if you've got any questions,
you've got a minute.
I would also like to just point out quickly for those of you who weren't aware or. There's a new YouTube community tab that I have available. It was previously available for channels with over 10k subscribers or something, but I was looking into it because I wanted to start using it, and it turns out that the day I looked at it, a couple of hours later, they have released it for a load of, I think it's either left its beta stage or something, but now I've got access to it, which is absolutely awesome. So it means I can put up polls and posts and stuff. I love putting up a standard poll, a good old poll. On that, I've posted about one thing every day at the moment. Yeah, essentially, if you look at your subscriber list, and you'll have the choice of going just videos or videos and posts. If you put on videos and posts, you'll be able to see anything that I put on there if you want to. I don't care if you do, if you don't. It's up to you. But yeah, if you want to keep up to date. I'm going to be asking some questions on certain videos, and like, for example, my next Whatever Happened To. I want to know who you guys want to watch next. I've got a few players in the pipeline.
I need to catch up on that.
Yeah, it's a very good series. So yeah, check that out. And also, just before we finish with the questions, I have set up a Patreon to the Odd Man Rush YouTube channel. So if you want to help support the channel and get access to some exclusive content for as little as $1 a month, go and check it out. There's a $1 tier, a $5 tier, a $10 tier, and a $20 tier. If you want to give something, give however much you want. It's up to you. It's essentially just a way of you guys being able to help support the channel. If you want to give a little bit more than just your view, which equates to like 1 pence in ad revenue. It's up to you. I don't mind.
Or your sponsorship.
Exactly, or channel membership. You can get like it's cheaper than a channel membership.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I've made it very hockey related. Like I've called the tiers like the healthy scratch and the alternate captain, the roster player, and I've outlined all of that stuff. So if you go to patreon.com/oddmanrush, you can take a look at that. Feel free, even if you don't want to become a patron, I would ask that you go check it out and leave me some feedback. I'd like to know what you guys are thinking about it, ways to make it better, ways to improve it, because I only set it up less than a week ago, so please do let me know what you guys think. Anyway, Ben has a question for a standout Elite Ice Hockey League player. So, your standout EIHL player so far this season. I've got my pick, and I'm happy to go first if you guys want to.
Can I throw out a suggestion?
Go for it.
To spice this question up a little bit.
Go on.
You pick 3 players, but they can't be from the same team.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Because I can think of at least 2 players from other teams that have been just as standout as my one.
I've only had one that immediately springs to mind, but
I've had one that's immediately spring to mind as well, and it'd be interesting to see if they're different because mine's not from the Panthers.
Mine's not either.
Okay, interesting.
I've got 2. One from the Panthers, one from Steelers. Yeah.
Ben says his question is spicy enough. Thank you.
My chat's not.
That's right.
It is. Yeah.
Who wants to go first? Okay, we'll change it. One from, just say what you want. I don't care. It's last questions. Who cares? Max, go first.
So from the Panthers, first one that dropped to mind is Luke Pither. The fact that he came in halfway through the season last year and made a name for himself, and he's doing just as much,
he is
if not more, this season. Yeah,
it's very much the team is very much whichever way he goes, the team goes. If he's not putting up points, the team's not going to win. If he scores a few, then the whole team plays really well. You know. Yeah,
you can seem to kind of rely on him a little bit and kind of just he's got the shoulders to burden that.
I'd have him the captain over Lapine any day.
But
then again, I don't have the history with Lapine as a Panthers player, so
I think that was kind of forced upon him. I'd take Scott Pitt out of Sheffield. Any player that can kind of shine and produce in a team that's.
I believe it's Josh Pitt. I got told this last time I mentioned it. It's Josh Pitt.
Sorry.
Josh Pitt.
Yeah, it's Josh.
I would agree with that one though. Sorry. Very good point.
Yeah, anybody that can perform in that sort of scenario that's going on in Sheffield right now, then well done to them.
He basically carried the offense on his shoulders for a large stretch. So. Yeah,
very much so. My third standout is the Fife Flyers goalie
Shane Owen. Yes.
Yeah,
I agree. That was going to be my pick. Yeah. He's been absolute clutch for that team.
Yeah, he has had maybe 2, now heading on to 3, if he carries on going the way he is, 3 standout seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my
he's awesome. What do you think, Chris?
Mine was up in Scotland again. Mine was from Fife. Carlo Finucci stood out for me.
Okay.
17 points in 10 games. Wow. Not the highest point scorer. That's Paul Crowder, also with 22 points in 10 games. Yeah. So that was my pick, Finucci.
Yeah, I think, Max, I'd have to absolutely agree with you. Pither, Josh Pitt, or Shane Owen, like that they've all been clutch for their teams in different reasons and in different ways. I think if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Shane Owen from Fife. I think He has led that team. Like, the reason that team is sitting second in the league at the moment is mainly because of him. It helps that the players in front of him are scoring points like crazy, but you've got to have a solid. I'm very much you start from the back and go out to the front. I'd rather have a situation of a team not scoring as many goals as they could be rather than letting in too many, because you can still win a 1-0 game. You can't win a 6-1 game. You know.
Yeah.
Isn't Owens English as well? He's British, isn't he?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because he could be, if that's so, I believe I'm right. And Ben Bounds is not getting any younger as much as I love Ben Bounds when he's playing for GB.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
For Owens to be having such consistent seasons or good seasons back to back.
Yeah, maybe he gets a call up.
He gets the. the nod.
He could at least be third string next season. Like, because who was the third string last year? Brad Day?
Oh, God.
Because it was Bounds, Murdy, and I'm pretty sure it was Brad Day as the third string goalie last year, yeah.
Yeah, because he dropped Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that would be a good one. Okay, so final chance for a question. I'm not going to give you very long, so get on it.
Yep. I'll just finish up then with a live score update of the only hockey game taking place right now. It's in Hungary in the Erste Liga, and midway through the third period, Ferencváros are 3-0 up over Stiska Zerida.
Thank you very much, Chris. Really appreciate that.
I'm gonna go check in on that because I'm pretty sure an ex-Panther now plays for them.
Which one?
Teams. I believe it's one that I look like is Mr. Zach Phillips.
Oh, really? Ah.
I think he played. Just say the first team again, Chris. I'm pretty sure it was that team.
Good luck with the pronunciation, mate. You've already said it once.
I think if you elite league Zach Phillips, he will be playing for that team.
Interesting.
Let me have a look.
And on that note, I think it's time to finish. So, it was Jackson Whistle. It was Jackson Whistle.
If he is on that team, he's not playing tonight.
Just in case you wanted to know, Whistle was the third string goaltender. Yes, if Owen is Owen could fit that slot quite nicely. So, yes, I'm going to say big thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Icing on the Skate podcast. Season 1, Episode 7. We're almost 2 months into this, ladies and gents.
We are.
Next week, it will be a couple of days after my birthday. Happy birthday to me. And, yeah.
We'll know much more about the Challenge Cup.
Exactly. So, thank you very much for watching, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. Thank you, Chris and Max, for joining me, as always.
You're welcome.
Not a problem.
Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching. But for now, goodbye.